Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to the second edition of Panther Rewind. Last year we kicked this segment off hosting Dave Shellington, and this year we're pleased to have with us today Ron Carragher, the fifth leading all-time scorer in UPEI hockey, men's hockey, and former teammate, current colleague in the principal world. And so, Sav, thanks for coming in and being part of the segment today.
Yeah, I appreciate being asked.
Okay. So, Ronnie, just to begin off, when you think about your journey to here, you had quite a high level of experience prior to coming to UPEI. Your time spent with Sherwood Metros, and where you went to a national finalist, and then you went to the Charlottetown Islanders. You won a national championship with the Intermediate Islanders, and all of that under the tutelage of a well-known hockey player in PEI and coach in PEI, Angie Carroll. Maybe just start off by talking a little bit about that prior to getting into the other stuff.
Yeah, sure. I always say that I was certainly fortunate to be able to come through at a good time in junior. We had elite teams there for back-to-back years, where I happened to be part of it. And yeah, Angie came in. Certainly, Vern Frizzle was the one that took me under his wing, and we had 1 year of junior, and then following that went and played Sherwood for 2 years, where we not only continued to win, at that time it was the Island Junior League, and then we go on and we win the Atlantics back-to-back years and go to the Nationals, and so it was certainly great memories. We were 3 minutes away from winning a national championship. 2 years. My second last year of junior, and then my last year junior again, we were knocking on the door, and just came up a little short both times under the guidance of Angie Carroll, who was the coach. And then following that, I was fortunate, like all players, you want to continue to pursue your professional career or see what options are out there, versus always nice to know that the university was in the wings. And I still wanted to give it another shot, probably, and so I ended up trying the professional route, which enjoyed the experience, but wasn't meant for me, and so I come back. And again, Angie at that time went on with the Charlottetown Islanders, and again, we had a bona fide team with some great players. Just everything fell in place. We went and brought in a goaltender, Yves Belanger, and then the rest is history. We had a great run to the playoffs, went undefeated, won a national championship. So 3 years in a row prior to my decision of playing university, where was certainly another chapter in itself.
Certainly helped you establish that winning tradition, I think, in terms of providing it, what you carried over into your playing time at UPI. You won a AUAA championship, AUAA at the time, now it's U Sport. 84, 85, and then 86, 87, you won another championship. Maybe if you could talk for a little bit, Ronnie, about what it was like to be on both of those winning teams, maybe compare and contrast a little bit about what it was like winning with each of those squads.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that, you're in dressing rooms with players that have won before and have professional experience, and so you can't help but learn from them and bring that with you, whatever level you go. And then whenever I hit the university, it was interesting. Normally I had the chance to play with yourself as you were in your prime at that particular time, putting up big numbers. But what I do recall is in the year of 82 or 83, we were trying to find our way as our team, our identity. Again, Jack Hines, appreciate the fact that, and that they showed great interest in me coming aboard, first of all. Again, it was nice to have those options, as I say, to be able to know that university was a good route. So we battled in trying to 500, and it was interesting. Prior to you asking me to come aboard here, I did punch some numbers, and they were staggering to be able to see our teams from 83 to 87, the 88 team. It's worth noting that whenever we started getting on that winning route, we only played 24 games back on the 84 to 87. We only lost 5 games, 4 games, and 4 games respectively. And then the 87-88 team only lost 2 games. So we were dominant on that time, and it was a real compliment to Vince Mulligan, our booster club. And we brought in great character players who could certainly brought this university and the hockey program to a whole other level. And there are certainly memories that won't die through those experiences because, again, winning just continued to be the norm. From our goal each week was to be number one in Canada, and not just winning on the weekend. We had our goal set. That's where our team was, and so there were high standards, and that was constant conversation in the dressing room, and certainly nice to be able to breathe that from year to year.
Yeah, sort of. We got in a roll there, and it kind of continued, and it sort of fed itself there for a number of years, didn't it?
Yeah, didn't it? It was interesting, again, coming back, when you look at these different numbers, we were 500, I think, in 83 and 84, 11 and 11, and our goals for and goals against at that time were, I think we were +3 or +4. Year before that, we were a -7. From then on, we were a +90 from our goals for and our goals against. And then the following year was a +87 and a +80. So we kicked it in gear. Again, back to our strong recruiting that we had. There was no weak link.
No.
And just everybody bought into their role. And to this day, as we have our alumni weekend, we have those bona fide players that thrived on the role, whatever way that looked like. Because all they knew was they just wanted to be part of a winning atmosphere.
Winning atmosphere, for sure. So, Ronnie, after your playing days were over, you went behind the bench a little bit, had some time with old Captain Doug as his assistant coach with some good teams in the 90s, and that was a good experience. And now you're in a situation where you're having the opportunity to see your son back behind the bench as Carsey's working as assistant coach with Forby. Maybe sort of talk about what that's like to see your son behind the bench of the team that you wore the colors for proudly for 5 years.
Yeah, Mark has certainly been a good story for us. We've been, his journey has been interesting. He took the university route. Looking back at, his story was kind of similar to mine. Was a late bloomer, and because of the university program here, probably would not have been, would have been a healthy scratch or as far as where he fit on the roster.
Right.
So he decided another route, and he, like Luke Becks and these other individuals have gone down to the States, and for him to go down there, get his business degree, 4 years, and he's in the Hall of Fame down there himself as far as from his hockey program. And for him to be able to have that, and he then tried the professional route, and to be able to see him back here behind the bench of UPI is certainly very rewarding. We're certainly proud of the route he took, as all players look at their journey differently. But he has had good success in a short period of time from the teams that he's had and led up to. But my wife Cindy and I, we certainly don't miss any of the games because it's an added bonus to see him behind the bench working with Kenny McDougall and Forby. And trying to get the troops back rolling here for second half.
Yeah, good fit for sure in terms of the coaching squad there. And you kind of mentioned Cindy there for a minute, Ronnie. I guess when we think about Ronnie Carragher, in the hockey world, we don't think of it much without Cindy. And, you think about someone who's been along at the various stages of all your hockey journey, back from the Metros to the Islanders to the Panthers and all the runs. Cindy was a constant in your life, and she was always there. And that's a pretty special relationship that existed as a hockey wife, hockey mom. Maybe just speak to a little bit about Cindy and the role, the influence she had in being part of that with you.
Well, there's no question. Because of the support that she provided at home, not only for myself, but with the boys as they were growing up, she allowed me to continue to be away every weekend. If it wasn't as playing, and I played late into my 30s.
Still playing.
And still playing, and still get the green light to go and play. But also with the boys' situation as far as the work that she had to do to make sure that they were able to get to their own games as well.
Yeah.
But not only that, she, we speak the same language. She knows she's been here around since I was playing junior, and so she also was very instrumental in our winning, and she certainly
took as much enjoyment as you did.
No
almost.
question. Yeah. She breathed it as well, and so there's question. She has been a wonderful support, not only for myself but both Mark and Scott, and she continues to enjoy the game as much as myself, and we have great conversations around the game.
Good stuff. So, Ronnie, you've certainly been one of the real nice additions to the UPI program has been the Alumni Weekend, which is happening this weekend. And that's something that has really brought a sense of pride and tradition and connection that has united players in the program. And maybe if you can sort of speak to us a little bit about how that came about and what that sort of meant to former players and to current players of the former Panthers and current Panthers.
Yeah, well, again, it's let's talk about the committee, because it was something that I threw out there with a number of alumni. I'd asked them if they come on board, and you know what? It's just something that fell real nice in place. We've got a great little system there. We don't make it a long weekend where it's just too complicated for alumni to get away. It's a simple, quick, fast evening that they are to come play. So the games itself have been nice, just the way to kind of make everybody buy into it a little bit. Also, you know yourself, Norman, any of us that are sitting in those two dressing rooms, and to be able to listen how you can't hear yourself speak, and everyone is taking turns with the, as far as with the wanting to be part of the audience and telling their stories. It doesn't get any better than that. And for us to be able to continue this trend, and again this coming weekend, to be able to see the number of bodies that we have, and we don't lose out on anyone. We continue to make sure that everyone is part of it, and it's just been a real nice fit. And not only that, but from the financial piece, we're always able to give back something to the Booster Club. We keep it simple. We've supported a lot of alumni families throughout the number of years that we've had, and we'll continue to do so. So it's been a really neat fit, unlike any other alumni, I like to say, across Canada. For us to be able to continue to have the numbers and the buy-in, and just the sense of ownership and that everyone has for that particular evening. Pretty hard to beat that.
Yeah, there's not many that don't have it marked in their calendar as of the day after we have it from one year to the next. So that speaks volumes about the success for it, and certainly something that we really appreciate. So thanks for your time with that. So Ronnie, just to wrap up, just to maybe fill in a little bit about what you've been doing. You and I have kind of gone on similar tracks. We've gone through the education program together. We worked as teachers for a while. We've since gone on to administration. So maybe sort of talk a little bit about that in terms of making the connection between the hockey world, the real world, and what you're doing in your current role these days.
Yeah, well, certainly, as our role as being principals at the school, it's all about leadership. And there's probably not too many days that don't go by that you were constantly relaying situations to your own scenarios back in dressing rooms as a coach and staff, because it's all about the big picture and the team. And so, been fortunate. Been in the system now for 30 years, principal of 4 different schools at all different levels, and I wouldn't trade it. It's to be able to see passionate teachers, to be able to have the opportunity to work with passionate teachers who are there for the best interest of kids. It's no different from being in the rink. It's the exact same way, and you use the same scenarios from being a coach, and but we have the obligation to make sure that we lead because they're looking for it. And so, it has put us in a very good place, and the hockey world has shaped us into who we are today. Again, as I reminisce about the teams back from junior and the 2 national championships that I've won and the university success, all comes back to a great group of individuals that I look forward to seeing and connecting with, and those were memories that nobody can ever take away from. And so you still have that fire, no matter if you're watching the World Juniors or if you're watching or you're playing rec hockey, you just
always wants to win.
You just don't like, at the end of the day you park it, but you're there for a reason. And I think it's important that we don't lose that drive, and I hope that will continue. Great.
Well, Sav, you've been a great leader for when you're playing days. You've carried that on in the education world. You've carried it on with the alumni program. And I really want to thank you for coming and sharing your stories with all the viewers here tonight on Panther Rewind. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Norman. Continue success yourself. It's great that you're taking this initiative and bringing the alumni back to Rewind, and great stories.
A lot of fun.
Great.
A lot of fun.